Autumn Godwin is pursuing her master's degree in Concordia's individualized program, using her research on reclaiming language, ceremony, and education land-based practices to support community organizations. Her efforts include, as she mentioned, co-founding the Buckskin Babes Urban Moosehide Collective, which helps Indigenous people reconnect to traditional knowledge. Autumn est membre de conseil directeur sur les directions autochtones, dont le mandat est de susciter le changement à l'échelle de l'université en misant sur la décolonisation et l'autochtonisation. Beyond this, she also helps fellow Indigenous students navigate through the university system. Autumn has led numerous workshops, helped to organize and participate in numerous events, bringing awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Elle est également membre du conseil d'administration du foyer pour femmes autochtones de Montréal depuis 2016. Congratulations, Autumn.
Good evening. Kananaskaumitin. We do not have a word in our language to say thank you, so we say I am grateful, which is Kananaskaumitin. I am very grateful to be awarded this year's Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Award from the Concordia Alumni Association. Due to systemic barriers, I started my academic career later in my life. I carried a lot of generational trauma stemming from the residential schools, so this was not an easy journey. I was holding on to a lot of anger and resentment that I was not aware of. During my undergrad in First Peoples Studies is where I began my healing journey. This was, no doubt, the biggest challenge I have ever undertaken. I would like to take a moment and share with you a very personal story. I'm going to try not to cry. There were times where I wanted to quit. I did not feel that I was smart enough to be here. Smart enough, what does that mean? I did not feel like I belonged. I felt like I was an outsider looking in. I struggled with confidence and the fear of looking like a fool in front of my peers. I called my mother and I would ask her, "What's wrong with me? Why am I struggling so much?" She broke down and she started to cry. She said it's her fault. She was reminded of when she was in residential school and when she had to take a test in English, she did not understand the words on the paper. She stared at it blankly, and when the so-called educator asked her to fill the questions, my mother replied, "I do not understand the language." She was ridiculed in front of all of her classmates in that classroom. She obviously failed that comprehension exam and was later labeled as having borderline mental retardation. She was not mentally disabled. She simply did not understand the language. This stuck with her whole life, and she had felt that she had passed this belief on to me. We were taught that we were less than and that we would never fit in. I was determined to prove her wrong and to show her that that she raised an incredibly strong, smart Nihida Isquayu. I also have two beautiful children, and I wanted to show them that their mother is capable of doing this and what they are capable of doing. My time at Concordia has helped me build my confidence and to enact social change. This is where I began to volunteer and be involved in student and Indigenous organizations. My advocacy stems from lived experience and demanding meaningful action against systemic racism both within and outside of academia. I found that in order to heal from the past, I must learn to forgive and build trusting relationships stemming from an Indigenous worldview. I want other Indigenous students to know that they belong and that they don't have to change who they are to be here. Our knowledge is valid. I recognize I could not have done this without the amazing people who have supported me. My elders who have demonstrated what resistance and resilience looks like, they are the guides and the people who keep me humble. My little ones who keep me balanced and teach me to slow down. My supervisor, Anna, and my dear friend, Michelle, who have given me the confidence to keep going even when I doubted myself. I also want to thank my beautiful friends who have done a lot of emotional care without ever asking anything in return. I would also like to thank Shift, Community Engagement, and staff who have helped me create this grassroots initiative of reclamation of traditional land-based practices for Indigenous people here in Tiohtià:ke. I am so grateful to be welcomed as a guest on these lands and honored to receive this award. Kananasko Mitin.